So Mayo on the wrong side once again in All-Ireland final, and we'll just do their player ratings now. Obviously another desperately disappointing day for them. David Clark in the goal. I think Mayo retained most of their kickouts. I mean, some wobbles towards the end, I guess, and plenty of 50-50s going up, but I give David Clark 7 out of 10. Don't think he could have done anything for either goal. They were just a bit too, I mean, those shots either hit you or they don't, and I wouldn't be blaming him for either goal. I think Chris Barrett marked Dean Rock quite well throughout the game. Give him an 8 out of 10. Thought he did quite well. David Clark, as I said, a 7. Oisin Mullen, thought he did pretty well, and he won 3 kickouts early on in the game. Got himself a point as well. I think he was a 7. Maybe even an 8 out of 10. I know his man got man of the match on TV, but maybe that's not necessarily something I'd agree with. I give him a 7 out of 10. I thought he was quite good actually. Lee Keegan, he spent most of the early parts of the game really close to goal, but I think it must have been an instruction, or else he took it upon himself that he needed to start impacting the game going the other way, and he started to take over a little bit. I'd give him an 8 out of 10. Obviously took a massive hit from Michael Fitzsimons midway through the second half. Well, actually early enough in the second half, maybe the 45th minute, give or take, and that maybe impeded him somewhat, but I thought Keegan was quite good, and I give him an 8 out of 10. Let me know what you think. Patrick Durkin having to go off at half time was a huge blow for Mayo, and he hadn't been that influential in the first half. He was obviously doing a bit of a marking job close to his own goal. Didn't really get into it, so 6 out of 10. And if he plays his normal game, where he's an 8 or a 9 out of 10, maybe that can have a big impact and kind of turn this game a little bit. So I'll give him a 6. Stephen Cohen, I think he had a tough time of it when he went back full back on Kieran Kilkenny. I think he was a bit of a fish out of water there, so he was asked to do a job that probably doesn't really suit him. So I thought he battled hard, but unfortunately didn't really get into the game. Did score a lovely mark at one stage, and he took a nice mark and he finished it lovely. It was a tight angle on the right hand side, which is obviously harder for a right footed kicker, so give him a 5. I think Owen Mclaughlin didn't really get into the game throughout this, and Niall Scully, who seemed to be shadowing at times in the first half, I think was doing okay. I give Mclaughlin a 5. Conor Loftus a 6. Fisted over a nice point there in the first half. Haven't seen the replay yet, and I wonder could he have gone for goal. He did a couple of nice things. Matthew Owen's driving runs and pace. Thought he was okay for at different spells. I give him probably a 7. Kevin Mclaughlin, just so good at holding the ball and being a playmaker, and he had a couple of nice kick passes in the first half that I think Cillian O'Connor might have got a couple of marks from. I thought he was okay. He was probably not brilliant. I'm going to go with probably a 6, because as the game went on, I thought you could probably do getting a little bit more from your main man, or one of your main men. So I think a 6 for Kevin Mclaughlin. Ryan O'Donoghue scored 2 points in the first half, and he kind of jumped from between doing something really good and then a minute later he might get turned over. He had a couple of turnovers and he was taken off in the second half. I give him a 6. Thought Diarmuid O'Connor battled really hard, toiled very hard, and I go with a 7 out of 10 for him. Tommy Conroy didn't really work for him on the day, taken off early enough in the second half, and I go with a 5 there. Aiden O'Shea, he had won a couple of frees and stuff like that, but I think a disappointing enough day for him, so I'll give him a 5 out of 10. And Cillian O'Connor hit some nice scores, to be fair, and one like he scored a couple from play. He won a couple of marks himself that he knocked over, which is obviously you collecting possession in a good area of the field and getting out in front, and knocked over a couple of other frees. He did miss one at one stage, but I think overall he did everything that could have been asked of him, so I'd give him probably a 7 out of 10. You're looking for something a little bit extra special, I think, when you're in a game like this, and I mean that from every player, not just Cillian O'Connor, so it's probably hard to give much more than a 7 out of 10. Michael Plunkett came in, did okay, probably a 6 out of 10. James Carr, didn't quite happen for him, probably go with probably just a 5 there, I would say. Next of all then came on Darren Cohen. Didn't happen for him at all. Now he did get a nice point, but he missed a couple of bad ones. I give him a 5. Jordan Flynn didn't really get into the game, probably a 5, and then James Durkin probably wasn't on long enough to be rated. So that's my Mayo player ratings. Let me know what yours are, and if you think I got anything right or wrong. I will watch the game back, and no doubt I'll probably change my opinion on some of them, but that's my thoughts after the game here at Croke Park.